You don't win a man over when he finally says he wants a relationship. You win him over way before that, when he starts doing things that don't make any sense and you're the only reason. That moment when he drops his plans just to spend an extra hour with you. That wasn't him being nice. That was him putting you first without even thinking about it. But most women completely miss it. They're too busy waiting for the big romantic moments, the I love you, the relationship talk, before they let themselves believe he's actually serious. And while they're waiting for all that, they miss the real signs. The ones that show he's already hooked before he even knows it himself. There are 4 specific things men do once they're really into you, and they tell you exactly what's going on in his head. If you miss them, you'll waste months wondering where things are going, reading into every text, asking yourself if he's serious or just messing around, and you'll never get that you already had him. You just didn't see it. This isn't about games or tricks. It's about seeing what's actually there, the stuff most women never notice because they're looking for the wrong things. If you've ever felt confused about where you stand with a guy, that's exactly what we're going to break down. You're going to learn how to spot these moments, why most women get it wrong, and how to stop second guessing yourself when you already have what you want. If this sounds familiar, hit like. And if you want to understand men at a level most women never reach, make sure you subscribe. What comes next is going to change how you see these moments forever. Most women don't lose men because he wasn't interested. They lose him because they couldn't tell when he already was. It usually starts small. He texts you something random in the middle of his day, not because he needs anything, just because you popped into his head. He remembers something you said 3 weeks ago that you barely remember saying. He brings it up like it's important. He changes his route home just to drive past your neighborhood, hoping maybe he'll run into you. And your first thought is, he's probably like this with everyone, or he's just being friendly, or I'm reading too much into it. That doubt is automatic for most women. You're trained to not assume anything, to play it safe, to wait until he basically announces his feelings before you let yourself believe he likes you. So you stay neutral, you don't lean in, you keep your options open, you tell yourself you're being smart, protecting yourself from getting hurt. But here's what nobody tells you: not every small action is meaningless. Some things only happen when a man is already emotionally involved. A man who feels nothing doesn't go out of his way. He doesn't remember details. He doesn't think about you when you're not around. He doesn't adjust his life to create more chances to see you. He stays in his lane, detached, convenient, easy. That's the part most women get wrong. When he starts doing little things that seem unnecessary, that's not random. That's him unconsciously prioritizing you. That's his brain rewiring around your presence. And instead of seeing it for what it is, most women brush it off. They treat it like friendship instead of interest. They wait for something bigger, something more obvious. They need proof before they believe it. And by the time they finally see it, he's either already tired of trying or he's met someone who actually noticed. This is the invisible shift where everything changes. Not when he says he likes you, when he starts acting like you matter before he's ready to admit it. Missing it doesn't mean you lost him. It means you never realized you already had him. Most women are taught from a young age that men will make it obvious if they're interested, that if he likes you, he'll chase, he'll be direct, he'll tell you. And if he doesn't do those things, it means he's not that into you. That idea works sometimes. It works with guys who are confident, experienced, or just naturally forward. But with most men, especially the good ones, that's not how it happens. Because the moment a man realizes he actually cares, doubt kicks in. Not about you. About himself. He starts wondering if he's good enough, if you feel the same way, if showing too much too soon will scare you off. So he doesn't go big. He goes small. He tests the water. He does things that seem minor but are actually huge for him. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Men don't go out of their way for women they're not serious about. They don't change their schedule for someone who's just an option. They don't remember small details about someone they're casual with. They don't create reasons to be around someone they don't care about keeping. Convenience doesn't create effort. Attachment does. But instead of recognizing his effort for what it is, most women compare it to some movie version of romance. They think if he really liked me, he'd do more. So they overlook the quiet consistency. They dismiss the small adjustments. They wait for the grand gesture. And without meaning to, they train him to think his effort doesn't matter. That's where the disconnect happens. And it's completely avoidable. When you dismiss his small actions, you're not protecting yourself. You're telling him you don't see him. And once that message lands, he stops trying. Not because he lost interest, because he thinks you're not interested. This is why so many women say he just stopped putting in effort, but the effort was always there. You just didn't count it. He wasn't waiting to care more. He was waiting for you to notice he already did. And the moment you understand that, you stop waiting for proof and start seeing what's already in front of you. Here's where we need to slow down and get specific. Because this is the part most women never fully understand. A man's small actions aren't accidental. They're not just nice guy behavior. And they're definitely not something he does for everyone. When a man starts shifting his habits around you, even in ways that seem tiny, it means something. It means you've crossed a line in his head. You're no longer just another person he knows. You're someone he wants to keep around. That doesn't happen casually. Before that point, you're easy to forget. He sees you when it's convenient. He reaches out when he's bored. He treats time with you like any other plans, something he can move or cancel without thinking twice. But once you matter, those same behaviors change. Suddenly he's making room. He's checking in. He's going out of his way even when it doesn't benefit him. And that shift is everything. This is what most women miss. They think investment shows up as words or big moves. But for most men, investment shows up as patterns, small, repeated actions that don't make sense unless he cares. He starts remembering things, not just the big stuff, but the random things you mentioned once. Your favorite coffee order, the name of your childhood dog, the story you told about your sister. Those details don't stick in a man's brain by accident. His mind holds on to them because you matter enough for them to register. He starts creating overlap. He suggests places he knows you like. He brings up activities that match your interests. He finds reasons to be where you are, even when it's not the easiest option for him. That's not coincidence. That's him building connection on purpose. He becomes consistent, not just when he feels like it, but even when life gets busy, even when he's tired, even when it would be easier to disappear. That kind of reliability doesn't come from politeness. It comes from priority. This is why the beginning is so confusing for most women. You're looking for the relationship conversation. You're looking for him to define things, but he's already defining things with his actions. He's already treating you differently than everyone else. And if you can't see that, you'll keep questioning what's real when the answer is already showing up every single day. Let me show you exactly what this looks like, because this is where most women finally recognize the pattern. A woman I know was seeing a guy for a few weeks, nothing official, no labels, no big talks about where things were going, just spending time together here and there. And she kept wondering if he was serious or just keeping things casual. Then one night she mentioned she had a rough day at work. She wasn't asking for anything, wasn't hinting, just venting. 20 minutes later, he showed up at her door. No call, no text asking if she wanted company. He just came. He brought food, sat with her, didn't try to fix anything. Didn't make it about him, just stayed. That wasn't a grand gesture, that was priority. Most guys don't drop what they're doing and drive across town for someone they're not invested in. They send a supportive text, maybe offer to talk later. But showing up, that takes more than interest, that takes care. And here's the part that matters. She almost dismissed it. She almost told herself he was probably just bored, or he's a really nice guy. But then she started noticing the pattern. He wasn't just nice, he was intentional. He didn't just show up that one time, he kept showing up in different ways. When she needed help moving furniture, he cleared his Saturday. When she had a family thing she was nervous about, he checked in after. When she got sick, he brought medicine without being asked. None of it was loud. None of it came with speeches about his feelings. But all of it said the same thing. You matter to me. That's what most women miss. They're waiting for him to say it, but he's already living it. And the moment you see that, everything shifts. You stop needing reassurance because his actions already gave it to you. You stop wondering where you stand because his consistency already told you. He didn't need to confess his feelings. His behavior already did. This is where most women lose the advantage, not because he pulled away, but because they couldn't see what was already there. The investment was real, the signs were clear, but instead of trusting what they saw, they doubted. And doubt changes everything. When you can't recognize his effort, you start testing him. You pull back to see if he'll chase. You go cold to see if he'll notice. You create distance to check if he cares enough to close it. All of it comes from the same place, insecurity. You're not sure if he's serious, so you make him prove it. But here's what that actually does. Even if you never say it out loud, it tells him his actions don't matter, that what he's already doing isn't enough, that you need more before you'll believe him. And once that message lands, something breaks. He doesn't pull away because he stopped caring. He pulls away because he feels unseen, because the effort he's putting in isn't being recognized, because trying harder when it's not being valued feels pointless. This is why so many women say, he just stopped trying. No, he stopped trying because it felt like you didn't notice when he was. You weren't being cruel. You were being blind. And that blindness cost you the connection. The moment you start testing instead of trusting, you shift the dynamic. You move from receiving his investment to demanding proof of it. And men feel that shift immediately. They don't need you to say anything. They can tell. Attraction doesn't survive in that space, not because men are difficult, but because connection can't grow when someone's constantly questioning if it's real. A woman who can't see effort will always need more of it. And a man who feels like his effort doesn't count will eventually stop giving it. That's not him being weak. That's him protecting himself from feeling invisible. The advantage was already yours. He was already in. But the moment you couldn't trust that, you made him prove something that was already true. And that's where most women lose what they already had. So here's what actually holding your position looks like. And it's simpler than most women think. When you see the small things, you acknowledge them, not with some big speech, not by making it awkward, just by noticing. He brings you coffee without you asking. You say, I appreciate that. That's it. 3 words. But those 3 words tell him his effort registered, that what he did mattered, that you see him. He remembers something you mentioned in passing. You smile and say, I can't believe you remembered that. You're not gushing. You're not making it bigger than it is. You're just reflecting back what he did so he knows it landed. That response does something most women don't realize. It encourages more, not because he's performing for validation, but because humans move toward what's appreciated. When effort is seen, it multiplies naturally. When it's ignored, it fades. This is what emotional intelligence actually looks like. It's not playing hard to get. It's not acting unimpressed to seem valuable. It's simply recognizing what's in front of you and letting him know you see it. No games, no tests, no pretending his actions don't affect you. You're not chasing him. You're not inflating his ego. You're just being honest about what you notice. And that honesty creates safety, real safety. Not the kind that comes from him chasing you. The kind that comes from him knowing that when he shows up, it's acknowledged. When a man feels seen, he doesn't pull back. He leans in, not because you rewarded him, but because being around you feels good. He doesn't have to guess if you care. He doesn't have to wonder if his effort matters. He can just be himself and know that's enough. That's the shift most women never make. They think holding their position means staying distant, but real power isn't in being distant. It's in being present. Present enough to see what's actually happening, confident enough to acknowledge it without fear, secure enough to let him know his actions mean something. When you do that, you're not giving him control. You're creating a dynamic where both people feel valued. And that's the space where real connection grows. What most women don't realize is that seeing the signs once doesn't mean anything long term. Recognizing his investment in the moment is one thing. Keeping your awareness sharp over time is completely different. The real test isn't whether you notice he's into you. It's whether you can hold on to that clarity without talking yourself out of it. This is where so many women lose themselves. Things are good, he's consistent, he's showing up, the signs are all there. But then doubt creeps in. A friend says if he really liked you, he would have made it official by now. You see a post online about how men always know right away. You compare your situation to someone else's relationship, and suddenly everything feels uncertain again. So you stop trusting what you see. You start looking for problems. You create tests. You need him to prove something he's already been proving every day. And that need destroys the natural flow. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Men don't operate on your timeline. They don't process feelings the same way you do. They don't need to name what they feel before they act on it. For most men, action comes first. Clarity comes later. He's already treating you like a priority before he calls you his girlfriend. He's already invested before he's ready to say it out loud. He's already in before he's figured out how to talk about it. And if you can't live in that space, if you need constant verbal confirmation before you believe what his behavior is telling you, you'll push him away. Not because he wasn't serious, but because your insecurity made him feel like nothing he did was ever enough. Long-term awareness means trusting patterns over moments. It means weighing his consistency more than his words. It means understanding that a man who keeps showing up is saying everything you need to hear. When you panic and need reassurance, you break your own center. You stop being the woman he was drawn to. You become the woman who needs him to manage her emotions. And that shift changes everything. A man doesn't feel safe with someone who's constantly questioning his intentions. He doesn't feel drawn to someone who can't see what's right in front of her. He pulls back, not because he stopped caring, but because doubt is exhausting. This is the shift from short-term awareness to actual mastery. You stop needing him to confirm what you already know. You stop comparing your relationship to anyone else's. You stop letting outside voices make you question what you see. When you trust your own judgment, when you believe the evidence in front of you, his actions over time, you become unshakable. And when you're unshakable, he doesn't feel pressure, he feels peace. That's when men stop hesitating. That's when they move from invested to committed, not because you demanded it, but because being with you feels easy in a world that usually feels complicated. Let me tell you exactly what mastery looks like in real terms, because this is the level most women never reach. Not because it's hard, but because it requires letting go of control. A woman who truly gets this doesn't need the relationship talk to feel secure. She's not sitting around wondering where things are going. She's not checking his phone. She's not asking her friends to decode his texts. She already knows where she stands because she's watching what he does. And what he does tells her everything. He makes time for her even when life gets crazy. He includes her in his plans without her asking. He introduces her to the people who matter to him. He talks about future things like they're obvious. When we go to that place, next time we do this, he's not saying if, he's saying when. That's a man who's already decided, and she doesn't need to force the conversation because the reality is already there. She's not afraid of losing him because she's not holding on tight. She's just living in the connection that's already built. She's confident, not arrogant, not cocky, just sure of what she brings. And that confidence makes him want to lock her down, not because she's playing games, but because she's the kind of woman who doesn't need to. This is what changes everything. When you're not desperate for confirmation, you stop doing the things that push men away. You stop overanalyzing, you stop testing, you stop creating problems to see if he'll solve them. You just exist in the relationship that's actually happening instead of the one you're worried about losing. And here's what happens when you do that. He stops feeling pressure. He stops feeling like he has to constantly prove himself. He stops wondering if you're going to flip out every time he doesn't text back fast enough. And in that space, something opens up. He starts thinking about forever, not because you trapped him, but because being with you feels like home. Men don't commit to women they have to constantly reassure. They commit to women who already know their worth. Women who see their effort and appreciate it without needing it to be perfect. Women who don't panic every time things get quiet. When you become that woman, everything shifts. You're not chasing commitment. Commitment is chasing you. And that's not manipulation. That's just what happens when a woman finally understands her own value and stops looking for a man to confirm it. Here's what you need to understand and actually remember. A man's investment isn't hidden. You don't need to be a mind reader to see it. You don't need a psychology degree to spot it. You just need to stop waiting for him to spell it out and start paying attention to what he's already doing. Most women don't lose men because he wasn't into them. They lose men because they couldn't believe he was. They doubted the small signs. They dismissed the quiet effort. They needed the big moment before they'd trust the everyday reality. And in waiting for proof, they missed the fact that the proof was